Hi, I'm Joe Murphy. I'm back. I want to talk to you about coaching, and I want to talk to you about what it is, what it isn't, and how to become a better coach if you're a manager so that you can lead your team on to success. But I want to tell you a story, first of all. If you're familiar with football, in the U.S., we play this game called football. It's played with a brown ball, and it's kind of oblong. So those guys who we call soccer, that's what we call it. You need to call it soccer. It just mixes up the whole world. So we play this game called football, and it's getting ready to start. Clemson down here in the South is a big university, and 𝗚𝗏𝗁 is the head coach. And of course, 𝗚𝗏𝗁 is going to be playing against UGA, which is University of Georgia. And his president of Clemson said, I don't want you to coach the players anymore until the quarter ends. This way you can give better feedback, because I think you're giving too much feedback. This is a good idea or bad idea? Is this a good idea? I want you to think about, you football fans, that the coaches don't give any more feedback or any more feed forward or any advice as to what to do until the quarter is over. Well, you know that would be a terrible idea. If you know anything about football, coaches are consistently and persistently, continuously giving coaching advice on plays and what's going on. They're doing it all the time. Now, that's called high-performance coaching, and that's what I want to get into in a couple later sessions. But you've got to understand a coaching framework from the very beginning, because to build a high-performance team, you need to be continuously giving coaching and guidance. So let's go to the board and start off with true, false, 2 questions. 1, now that we know what good coaches look like and we've got models of good coaches, why are there so few of them? So let's dispel 2 myths. Good coaching is about having all the answers. True or false? Good coaching is about having all the answers. It's false. Now, if you would have asked me 30 years ago, that's a long time ago, when I was in my 20s, I would have said good coaching is about having all the answers. All right, that was my 𝗚𝗏𝗁 impersonation. By the way, the president of the college or the university didn't tell 𝗚𝗏𝗁 that. I just want to get your attention. All right, second question. Being a good coach is about being a good advice giver. True or false? Well, that's false. Being able to give good advice helps for sure. Having ideas of what to do in the future state, because you know what needs to be done is done because of expertise. When you're a football coach, you know you have good advice because you've been there, done that. You've played the game and studied the game. But it doesn't always have to be that way for coaches. So I'm going to give you a framework so that you can become a better coach. So I'm going to come through first and frame all this up so that you can understand and not make the same mistakes I did on how to create a good coaching, environment. Excuse me. First, there's 2 types of coaching situations. One is where you go to the other person and say, I've got some advice I want to give you. I want to give you some ideas of how to improve upon. Now, I've got a whole session on that. That's called Feed Forward. It's about what to do in the future. There's so many opportunities to do this that we overlook it, and I want to spend enough time on that one in a different session. But the second opportunity is where someone comes to you. And this is where we get a little bit off center. We make mistakes. When somebody comes to you for advice and counsel, they have a problem, they have a challenge, something they're wrestling with. Now, if you would have seen me back in my 20s and maybe my 30s, I thought my idea was to help them see the light and to brainstorm or think out loud as to how to solve the problem. Now, I'm a very creative person, or I think I am, and I come up with 20 different ideas. What I wind up doing is I've got 20 ideas. I can implement each one of them. I'll take the most important one and work on it until I come to as far as I can go. Then I'll go to the second one. Now, for some people, they just don't follow that. And my big mistake was I brainstormed with people and I spent an hour or 2 hours. I'd come up with elegant solutions, and the solutions would never get implemented. They'd probably walk away frustrated. I definitely was frustrated because I said all these great ideas and you did nothing. And so I blamed the other person. But you know what? When I blame someone else, I'm going to point the fingers right back here. So those of you who are listening to me from 30 years ago, 20 years ago, my apologies. I screwed up. Let me give you the framework so that you don't screw up like I did. First of all, you want to set a framework. You want to set a frame for the conversation. You want to say to the person, how much time do we have? Or you want to say, I've got half an hour. Is that going to suffice? Okay, here's the ground rules for the discussion. So that's number 2. Here's the ground. I'm going to listen. You're going to talk. I'm going to ask questions. I want to clarify because I want to understand the situation, what you think is wrong, and then we're going to get to solution. Number 3, I want to hear what you're hoping to get from this conversation. You know, sometimes people come to us and you want to use this as a sounding board, and we think it's a great opportunity to help them solve world's problems. And we wind up frustrating them when all they needed was a sounding board to think out loud. And then, what is it you're going to need from me? I guess that's the 4th one. So the 4 questions are, how much time do we have? Set the framework in terms of time. Second, what are the ground rules? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen. I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to ask questions to clarify, to understand the situation. And then 3rd, what are you hoping to get from this conversation? And then 4th, what do you need from me? So those are the 4 things to frame everything up. And then it starts from there. If you don't frame up the discussion, the conversation is going to drift and it's going to go on and on and on. And you've been in those conversations and nothing ever happens. The person needing the coaching doesn't, what happens is when the conversation goes on and on and on, the person who came to you doesn't change or doesn't take action. And as I said before, the coach has wasted their time. The other aspect that I want you to stop and think about what coaching truly is being a great listener, okay? And you must take the time to listen. And you start off the conversation with, let's take the time to really understand what's going on as you see it. I'm going to say it again. Let's take the time to really understand what's going on as you see it. Because you really want to understand what's going on from their frame of reference. So you want to see what's important and why it's important and why the current situation isn't working. What's wrong with the status quo? Think of it coaching this way. The other person is talking 75% of the time and you're listening 25% of the time or asking questions. You're listening 100% of the time and you may be asking questions 25% of the time. Once you understand the situation, you go, okay, let's move forward. This little statement shifts the person from the past to the present, to the future. And you ask this question, which really puts them in the frame of mind to creating a solution. If you could wave a magic wand, what would success look like? Or if you could think of the ideal state, what would that look like? And then be quiet. Don't say anything else. If the person is stuck, you can see their eyes typically go up to the right to start thinking about it, or up to the left. It depends how up to the left is they're drawing information from their data banks. Up to the right is thinking about, let me think how the future might look. Okay, just a little neuro-linguistic programming there. But you want to move the person from the past to the future state. You want to create a solution that they can implement, okay? If the person is stuck and they go up to the left with their eyes, they're trying to draw from the past, what you want to ask is, what would be occurring that is different from what is happening now? I'm going to say it again. What would be occurring that is different than what is happening now? This automatically starts to unblock them and freeze them up. The next question you want to ask is really simply, how do we get there? Or how do you get there? How do you get there? Gets the person thinking about the steps that need to be taken in order to achieve that future ideal state. What you want them to do is start thinking out loud and even get on a whiteboard. Here's the steps I need to take in order for this to occur. Or this is the steps my team needs to take in order for this to occur. And then if you can get them to write it out on a whiteboard, which is always better, you can see the steps laid out. And this is where you can intervene and say, well, number 2, do you think there's another step prior to number 2 that you need to take? As in, are there other people that need to get involved? And who might they be? See, you're continuously asking questions. You're not making suggestions. You're getting the other person or the other party to think. Okay, now that they're laying this out on the whiteboard or they're laying it on a piece of paper or they're discussing it, you want to make sure that the person implements it. That's the critical distinction in this plan, that you don't get the monkey on your back where you start implementing it. Because being the good-natured person that we are, or you are, and what I was, is I always carried these tasks when it was the other person's responsibility to make the changes. Now, if it's an organizational change that I have control over, then that's going to take a wider discussion, a bigger discussion with other stakeholders that we would need to bring into the room if I agreed with the change. So the big distinction that I want to make sure you understand, and this is the big distinction, between coaching and performance appraisals, because people get these two things mixed up, they're totally different, is that performance appraisals look in the rearview mirror to the past to see what happened and what went on. And it's very difficult, okay, because they're typically done by quarter or even worse at the end of the year. That's why I did the 𝗚𝗿𝗁 joke. Okay, that performance appraisals, I'm not a big fan of them. As a coach, a high performance coach, you need to be doing appraisals and giving ideas about moving forward and how people can improve at least on a weekly basis. Okay, you want to drive change by asking questions and moving people into a better state about how they can improve, and give them the self-assurance that they can make those changes. I'm Joe Murphy, and I'm here for your success. This is a forward-looking exercise, a forward perspective. I always enjoy these things. Coaching, if you do it right, will change the dynamics of your organization. I wish you the best of success.